Today, I wanted to talk about one of the coolest stories in all of high school football recruiting, and that is Hero Kanu. Now, Hero Kanu is an individual that most of you may have never heard of, but what if I was to tell you that Hero hasn't played football for more than 2 years, that he hasn't even played in 4 high school games yet, and he's already fielding 15 Division I offers with teams such as Texas A&M, Texas, LSU, and Clemson all offering last week? Yeah, that's the kind of guy we're talking about, and we need to get into it. But before we do, as always, hop down to the comments. I can't wait to hear what you're thinking. Have you heard of Hero Kanu? And if you have, who do you think ultimately can separate themselves to him? There's a lot to talk about when we're talking about Hero, and I really can't wait to get into it. But if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification. That way you don't miss any of my uploads. I do constant college football content, player reviews, film analysis, talk style videos like this, and I'm on my push to 5,000 subscribers in my first year, and I'd love to have you along. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and comment down below because that really does help content creators get picked up by the YouTube algorithm. But with all that being said and out the way, let's talk about the former soccer player from Germany, Hero Kanu. And like I just said, former soccer player, so we can already kind of anticipate that he's going to have elite footwork. That's usually something you see with a lot of these soccer guys, is they have good change of direction, good footwork, because that's the name of the game in soccer. And when you're 6'5", 293 pounds, it makes sense why you would switch to football. And Hero talked about how he actually outgrew the game of soccer and was recommended to try football. Now, he hasn't been playing the game for very long, less than 2 years, and already when you turn on his film, you see why colleges are flocking to get this guy an offer and to try and separate themselves from other institutions after him. Hero's talked about that he's in no hurry with his commitment with recruiting. He really wants to take his time because he's still learning about all of these colleges. So he's talked about how cool it is getting these offers, but he's nowhere even close to deciding who he's high on, who he's really not high on, because he doesn't know enough about these institutions, which that means, and look, if your team hasn't offered him, you're not out the window yet. You can still be able to offer him because he's still in the phase of getting acclimated to all these schools. Now, when we talk about who has offered him, we talked about how within his first few high school games, he's fielding 15 Division I offers. Well, who are these teams? First and foremost, Penn State was the first team to offer, followed by Washington, USC, Colorado, Arizona, Kentucky, Oregon, Michigan, TCU, Arizona State, and Ole Miss. And then last week, like I said, Texas A&M, Texas, LSU, and Clemson all jumping in on this recruiting battle. And when you have a defensive lineman who hasn't been playing football for very long, less than 2 years, I hate to be a broken record, but that's unbelievable that he's getting this much traction with that little playing time. When you have a guy who hasn't played for very long, who has all the measurables, that goes to tell you there's something there that colleges really like. And when I watched his tape, there's a few things that just stood out to me, so let's go through them. First and foremost, footwork. Like I said in the beginning, former soccer player, it absolutely shows his ability to get off of blocks using footwork alone, in conjecture with hand fighting and other things, but based off the footwork, is top notch right now, and that's absolutely translating. The second thing is his motor. He is quick and he is going. He does not quit. His feet never stop moving, and he is getting to where he wants to go. He's a guy that understands gap discipline because that's been something they've obviously taught him. I was very surprised to see how much he understood gap discipline. I've talked about this in other videos. Gap discipline is something that guys going into college rarely have down packed because guys coming out into the NFL are still learning it. It's an incredibly nuanced trait that is very difficult to decide when it's time for you to shoot and when you need to stay disciplined to filling your gap. But already when you watch his highlights, you can see instances where he's just completely filled the hole to where the running back can't get through and then gone through, and then other times where he's just said, I got the play, and ripped past the lineman to the backfield. That's always awesome to see, especially out of a young defensive lineman still learning the game. And speaking of age, Hero doesn't turn 17 until September of this year, meaning wherever he goes, they're getting a guy who not only they can mold because he hasn't played football for very long, they're getting a guy with incredible physical attributes, but they're also getting a guy who's very young, and that bodes well for them. Hero is containing attributes and just weaving together what seems to be, what could be, one of the hottest recruits in the 2022 cycle, who right now, if we look at 24/7 Sports composite rankings, isn't even ranked. I have a feeling that we're going to see this individual push towards a top 300 ranking, and it absolutely makes sense. In the past week alone, fielding offers from Texas, Texas A&M, LSU, and Clemson. And he's talked a bit about some of the offers that he has. He's talked about wanting to go up and see Oregon because he's only ever been in a certain section in California. He hasn't really gotten to see a lot of the United States, so he's really interested in taking visits, going, traveling, seeing these institutions, and building relationships, which is why no matter if you've just offered Hero or if your team hasn't offered him yet, it's not too late to get into what is going to be one of the most entertaining races for a recruit in all of the nation for the class of 2022, and you can mark it down. This is going to be a topic we revisit, and even if this is your first time hearing of Hero, I guarantee it's not going to be your last, because if you follow recruiting, you're going to see his name popping up a lot, and you're going to see his name surging up recruiting boards. No matter what website you look at, it's only a matter of time. We have to remember what usually happens when recruits get offers of this stature. Even though Hero isn't ranked currently and is a 0-star prospect for the 24/7 Sports composite, now on the 24/7 Sports ranking, they have him ranked, I believe, the 52nd best defensive tackle in the nation and is a 3-star prospect. But that 24/7 Sports composite is about to get updated with all of these offers, and he will undoubtedly be at least a 3-star, and I think he's going to be working towards a 4-star and maybe even a top 300 berth before it's all said and done. This is a guy who right now is close to some of the coaches at Washington. Some of the Washington coaches have been able to establish a good relationship through some of his former teammates, specifically Maurice Himes. Maurice Himes is a guy who played with Hero when they were in Germany, who is a part of the Washington class, and Maurice is recruiting Hero very closely. Now, the interesting thing is Hero says that distance is no problem. He'll go anywhere in the nation to play football, and so because of that, like I said, there is no favorite right now, and he's cleared it up, and I truly believe that there is no favorite because he's so early on into not only learning football at the American level and at the American high school level, but learning about these institutions. This is going to be one of the coolest storylines to follow in high school football recruiting. I cannot wait to see where he goes, and it's only a matter of time before institutions such as Georgia, Alabama, and Ohio State all follow suit and offer the fast-rising defensive tackle out of California, because if not, other teams are going to be surging and trying to get his talents on their campus. But I cannot wait to hear what y'all are thinking. What do you think of the 6'5", 293-pound defensive tackle that hails from Germany, that in only a few games is putting on such a show that social media is jumping and that he is getting offers flying in? I can't wait to hear what y'all think. If you're new to the channel, once again, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time. That's it.